Joe Aslina. I am Derek Cano. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Again, around the diamond we go, Joe. Next stop is
90 feet from home plate, Derek, first base, which to me is one of those positions that you need a good first baseman, and some of these guys prove why, because they're on winning teams. And we're going to start with a guy that is in a rebuilding, seems like more of a rebuilding year than anything, and that's the first baseman from the Chicago Cubs. I have Anthony Rizzo at number 8 on my honorable mention. He's a high contact guy. He walks a lot. He does have a bit of power. And as I look at the graphic here that you so nicely put up, he had 118 RBIs. That's a lot for 2 years. It's definitely. I mean, he even stole 8 bases. He's a big dude. If he's about 6 foot,
Yep.
6'5", I would say, big guy. Pretty good defensive player. He did knock in 24 ribbies last year, RBIs, runs batted in for all of these that don't love baseball. And he just he's a World Series champion, which actually a couple of these guys on my list are. So, Anthony Rizzo, I just thought he belonged in the top in the honorable mention category.
And we talked about, I will just say quick, we talked, if for those that missed it, in the NL Central preview, about, is this it for Anthony Rizzo? Last run for the Cubs, maybe? So, that whole group, Baez, Rizzo, Bryant, so should be interesting to see if they move on from them. One more year left on his contract for Anthony Rizzo.
Nice lefty bat too, and you're right. Will they move on? That will be. I don't know. He was a trade guy too. He didn't even come. He wasn't a Chicago Cub. He was a trade. So it's another interesting point about him. Number 7 is a guy that we're going to be a lot familiar with in the next couple seasons, and that's the young stud from the Toronto Blue Jays, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He is 21 years old. He's the son of Hall of Famer Vladimir Guerrero. And I'm assuming it's senior, but I used to always call him Vladimir Guerrero, just Vladimir Guerrero. Very talented like his father. He can play first base, third base, and he'll DH. He hit about 260 on the 2020 season. He knocked in 33 RBIs.
I have to apologize. I created 2 versions of this.
Oh, that's right.
And I opened up the wrong one. So
okay.
But Vladimir Guerrero was on there.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys. The very, very he's going to be very consistent, I think. He's one of those Blue Jays now with George Springer, Kevin Biggio, and Dante Bichette. They have that young core. They're building something in Toronto, Derek. And if they get some pitching, Guerrero is going to benefit from the pitching they would get. So, I like Vlad at 7.
Yeah, for those that may be thinking, oh, isn't he a third baseman? Well, last year he was a first baseman. I think he still technically has more games at third base, and that might have been why he missed my list to start. But he's going to be the first baseman moving forward. So, powerful swinger. So just like, although he does seem to hit a lot more ground balls, so I'd be interested to see if he could turn more of those into line drives.
Right. Their infield is kind of like interchangeable. Bichette can play a little bit second and short. Biggio can play second and center, I know. And then you have Travis Shaw, who actually is not with them now. He went to the Brewers. I don't know if they got anybody else to play third. So it could be Guerrero at third. It just depends on where they want to put him. And he'll DH a lot too. Another big guy, man. He's quite hefty.
Yes. Yeah.
Love the hair.
Well, actually, he supposedly lost a good amount of weight.
Oh, he was
going into this season. Yeah, I think it might have been around 20 pounds. They just said.
Wow.
So,
okay.
And Biggio, I don't know where Biggio's playing. He might move to third, but good infield for the Blue Jays.
Oh, they signed Simeon too, so he's gonna figure in there somewhere.
I think he's going to play second. So
okay.
Yeah, that might move Biggio to third potentially.
Bichette at short. Oh, we're going to talk about him on Monday, Derek. They're part of the AL East.
Yes, so, the AL East show.
Yes. So number 6 is a very underrated player, and it's the San Diego Padres, Eric Hosmer. And I thought of him because he won a World Series with Kansas City.
Mhm.
Hosmer he's just a good bat. Like he just has some, um, I don't know. He didn't make the graphic, huh? That's kind of
No,
what?
he's at the bottom.
Oh, there he is.
Yep.
He's 31 years old, 31 or 32, we'll
No,
say.
no, these are correct ages.
Okay. Okay.
I have them
30.
correct now.
Well, sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes they turn and we don't realize that they
Yeah,
turned,
sure.
It's not everybody's fault. 95 runs scored though is kind of high. I mean, lower than these guys on the list, but still pretty good. I love the RBIs. And one thing I jotted down about him is that he's a guy that slugs. Like, man, he hits the ball. He's just a really good hitter. I like Hosmer. He doesn't hurt you defensively. And he knocked in 36 last year. So I had a hard time keeping off and seeing two of my honorable mentions are World Series winners. Derek, it's not going to be long. San Diego's going to be a World Series winner. That's a prediction.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the 4 gold gloves that he has. So I think maybe some of them might have been when he played for the Royals, but I think he's kind of taken a little bit of a downturn for the Padres, maybe the bigger ballpark a little bit, but um, a great leader who it's funny to see him as the leader, but he is the leader now and the veteran of that San Diego team. So people
And
like Manny
Machado.
Machado,
Yep.
who's a little bit older,
Yeah.
but now with the Tatises of the world and the young pitchers, and
Yep.
so they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NL West
Look out,
this year.
LA. They're coming for you. Number 5 is Paul Goldschmidt, the St. Louis Cardinals. I love Goldie. He really hits the ball well. He walked a lot in 20. He's a good hitter to the opposite field, which I know is not a big stat, but that's important to do if a pitcher throws to the outside of the plate. He had 21 home runs last season, which is something, hit at 304. Now, I know he's on the graphic. Yeah, he's at the top too. He's in the top 5, it looks like. Um, I mean, Derek, he played in 219 games in 2 seasons. This guy's durable.
Yep.
John Mozeliak for St. Louis went out and got a beast because this guy did nothing but rake in Arizona. His WAR is a 5, which is up there with Rizzo and Alonso. Yeah, I listen. Paul Goldschmidt has to be on any top 10 list. He's a heck of a player, Derek.
One of the most interesting, I mean, this isn't about Goldschmidt directly, but one of the most interesting stats I saw there was games played. Goldschmidt is at 219, 33 years old. Carlos Santana, 218, 34 years old. Jose Abreu, 219, 34 years old. Meanwhile, you see Luke Voigt is a little bit lower. You see Miguel Sano is lower. Reese Hoskins is lower. The younger guys are less than the older guys. So
What does that
the
show you?
durability you're getting with
Yeah,
those top guys who have been around for quite a long time.
exactly. It just shows you first base isn't going to hurt you in your knees like catcher does. It doesn't. The outfield, you're not diving for balls. You're right. First base is a position where you can. Well, this is why you see a lot of people, a lot of players kind of retire at first base, right? Because they can kind of go off to the
True.
sunset after that.
Yeah.
So, first base is a very interesting position, and we'll move on. Number 4 is Pete Alonso from the New York Mets, and I laugh a little bit because this guy is an absolute monster. He came in the league and he just crushed the baseball. And then my brother said on the show, I think we did with him for the NL East, he wonders if they figured him out a little bit. And it's a fair question. It's a fair question. We'll see what he does with Lindor this year and Conforto and a couple of Dominic Smith. Former rookie of the year, great power. He only hit 230 last year. They did figure him out a little bit. 35 RBIs though. Derek, in the middle of that order, though, even if you drop him to 5 or 6, he's 26 years old. He almost has 1,000 plate appearances already. 36
Yeah.
doubles, 69 home runs in 2 seasons. What do you got to say about Pete Alonso?
Yeah, I'm going to jump into him later. I mean, yes, there was nowhere to go but down, to be fairness, to be
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
He was at the top, and there was an impossible run that he was making, hitting home runs, and so you were bound to see a little bit of a downturn. But yes, the question is now is he going to make the adjustments to the pitching that adjusted to him in the second season? So it'll be interesting. Will he be,
The
will he
polar
be the
bear.
40, 110 RBI guy, or is he going to be the 25 and 90 guy? That could be the difference between whether or not the Mets are playing in October or not.
Right. And I'll tell you real quick that I heard an awesome story on him last year. I don't know if you ever heard of the listeners out there know it, but he was bullied a lot in school and he overcame it. He because of how great he was at baseball, of course, but he literally overcame all the kids at school. And you know what? This is kind of liking it to the diamond now. He's got to overcome a tough year. And he is,
Yes,
so we'll
for
see what
sure.
happens with Mr. Alonso. Number 3, Derek, is Jose Abreu, the White Sox first baseman, and a guy that I knew I had to, and I'll be honest, I didn't have him right at 3. I had him kind of up a little higher or lower my list, but I had to bring him down the more I read about him. Jose Abreu, MVP run. He hits home runs right on the barrel. He barrels up the baseball. He's 34 years of age, and he had a career year last year, 317, 19 homers, 60 RBIs. You look at his 2 years, 219 games played, 53 doubles, almost 300 hits, 52 home runs. You look at that line and you're sitting there saying, we can win with this guy. And that's what Mr. LaRusse is saying to himself in the dugout this year. He's a star, Derek.
Yeah, and obviously MVP last year.
I mean,
so there are 2 MVPs, I believe, on this list. Paul Goldschmidt might have won one a while ago, but most recent, Freddie Freeman, and in the NL last year, and Jose Abreu in the AL last year, and one of the best hitters in the league. It's going to happen again if the White Sox want to get further than the first round in the playoffs this year.
Right, exactly. Number 2 is Yankees first baseman Luke Voigt, and he's the reigning home run king. I mean, that's just ridiculous in itself. Tons of power. The one thing I did jot down because I thought this was interesting, he turns on the ball at an alarming rate. He loves to turn on the ball, get his hips out. Big guy too. And 277 last year, 22 homers, 82 RBIs. And Luke Voigt, well, he's at 11 on this list. He doesn't have all inspiring numbers, but some of them are pretty good. I mean, a 268 average. 2 seasons, he had 113 runs scored, 114 RBIs. That's tough to do. And for as big as he is, he still had 26 doubles. So, that's pretty good for a guy that's not that fast. Almost 800 plate appearances. I just think when you see Voigt hit the ball, and for our listeners that haven't, you got to tune into a Yankees game this year. He really squares up the baseball, Derek.
You're going to see, I don't have Luke Voigt on my list.
Okay.
And that is strictly because I want to see it for more than one season, and a shortened season at that. So, yes, he was a great power hitter last year, but he is 30 years old. So let me see it again, and then it'll probably be on my list because trimmed down a lot, which who knows may have helped him out a little bit, but maybe later, but not quite for me for Luke Voigt just yet.
There's a few guys I didn't put on my list, and now I'm looking at that I didn't like. Well, we could talk about after you do yours, but Max Muncy's one. I didn't even know that he played a lot of first base last year because he's not on my list in my book. So they might have him as a second baseman, but anyway, Derek, number 1's no surprise, and I call this guy freaking Freddie Freeman because he wears out my Phillies, and he's one of the best hitters in the National League. And baseball's playoff postseason last year saw him front and center. Freddie Freeman is an absolute awesome hitter. He was the National League most valuable player. He was a very good defensive player. The guy hit 340 last year, 13 homers, 53 RBIs, and he did it after he battled COVID. I don't know what to say about him. 51 home runs, 2 seasons, 174 RBIs. He stole 8 bases. he's just that guy. He's a 7 WAR. Like if I'm starting a baseball team, Freddie Freeman's right on my list.
Yeah. I'll talk about Freddie Freeman in a little bit.
Spoiler.
So I'll jump to my list here. I do have my 2 honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is Max Muncy.
There he is.
Yes, very multi-dimensional. He can play third base, he can play second base, can play first base. I haven't been good for those who are listening on all of our podcast platforms. I apologize because we don't really say the number. Well, I don't say the numbers too much that we're looking at. So I'm going to do my best here a little bit to say some. Some key ones that Max Muncy is very good in. 137 run. Now, again, this, as Joe mentioned, this is over the 2019-2020 seasons. Max Muncy had 137 runs scored. And he is one of the best in terms of walk percentage, 15.4. And then he has the best WAR. Where the heck do they get WAR from? Yeah.
Never get it.
Combination of all of them. You see, he doesn't hit the best for average, but I just think switch hitter, right? So very multi-dimensional Muncy is, and 199 games, he's out there a lot. Very key contributor, I would say, to the Dodgers winning the World Series.
Good player. Very good player. And I forgot, I think you're right. I think he's the switch hitter. You usually see him bat more from the left side.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that,
but I think you're right. I do remember him hitting from right side. I think thing about LA the last couple of years is they had Kiki Hernandez that would play. He wouldn't always play Muncy, but they could play him at first and they could play him at second. So, and they even played at third at sometimes. So, good, just a versatile player, a guy that you'd want to have on your team. Also, as what I said earlier about Freddie,
because I think it was it just going into this year, or was it 2019 as well? I wasn't sure when Bellinger really started moving to the outfield, because I knew he was at first base for a while, right. But I don't remember exactly a time when they said, you know what, go to the outfield. I know it was at least during this season, but
yeah, they had the commercial with him and Yelich where they had them in the
yes.
Both outfielders. That's when they kind of was, but you're right on that. You're definitely right on there.
So, and this will be my last one that Joe doesn't have on his list, but my last honorable mention is actually Matt Olson from the Oakland A's, who is probably one of the most frustrating hitters. You could tell that by seeing the 27% K percentage. He's really turning into an all or nothing, but I will say I think he hit about 190 last year, and which means that he in 2019 he hit about 270. So I think he'll come back to the mean a little bit. He's a 240, 250 hitter. Yeah. But one of the best raw power hitters that is in this league. 50 home runs you see, and that's playing about 20 games less than everybody else. 30 games less than
he's
some
young
people.
Too at 26.
Not a lot of stolen bases, but he's not slow. He's pretty quick. Good reflexes, agile at first base. You see the 2 Gold Gloves he has already, so he's good defensively. He really just needs to get back on the average train because he seems to have been going more for the all or nothing. So if he can get back to an average hitter, 240, 250, I think Matt Olson could even make his way further up this list.
Yeah, another good player. He's going to really be an interesting play with that core they got there with Canna. Mark Canna.
Canna,
yeah. And they have some good other players. Liriano, the center fielder. We'll get to them in the AL West, of course. But yeah, Matt Olson's a good player, and at 26 years old, he's probably going to get better, Derek.
Yeah, one of the youngest. tied for the
I look,
youngest on this
yeah, with
list with
Alonzo,
Alonzo. So, and they
and
may
then
be
Reese is
two of the
27.
biggest. They may be two of the
Yeah,
most raw power hitters on this list too.
it's
So
true. Yeah,
we could be seeing Olson v. Alonzo for multiple years down the line here for potential home run leaders. So,
wouldn't be surprised.
um, number 5. So a lot of these names are, going to be the same, and that's because they truly, I think, are the best first baseman right now. Number 5 I have is Anthony Rizzo. We talked about Anthony Rizzo. Who knows where they go after this, but they're currently 31, 4 Gold Gloves, great first baseman. He gets on base. I know he gets his walks highest, one of the highest on base percentage at .387. He doesn't strike out very much, so he puts contact on the ball. That's probably why you see him. It might be a little odd seeing a first baseman hit second, but you see Anthony Rizzo do it a lot because he hits for contact, and that's someone you want in the number 2
True.
spot. So as well as he can steal a couple bases, his power numbers are going down a little bit. But I think Rizzo isn't so much of a 30-35 home run hitter anymore. He's probably more of a 20-25, but he still has the glove and he can still hit you doubles. He's still a good hitter, 273, which is one of the higher end on this list. So when you have a lot of first basemen who go for it all, like a Matt Olson, and strike out a quarter of the time, someone like Rizzo, I think, is very important on a team. Um, as far as number 4, maybe not again, maybe not for the numbers so much anymore, but I have Paul Goldschmidt. We said the most game tied for the most games played over these past 2 seasons, even though he's 33 at 219. Still hitting a little bit of power. That's again has kind of gone down a little bit. Rizzo and Goldschmidt are probably 2 guys that are going to be moving further down on this list. A few years ago, they were probably right up there, 1-2, but now they're kind of starting to flow down. Goldschmidt has 3 Gold Gloves. He used to be a little bit of a base stealer too. You don't really see that much anymore. Um, Again, he strikes out a little bit too, but a lot of runs scored, 128. But yeah, Goldschmidt is someone trending down, but I had to still put him in there, partially because, and we talked about that again in the NL Central preview. Paul Goldschmidt was the guy that was the face of the Cardinals lineup for so long. And now that they brought in someone like Nolan Arenado to back Goldschmidt up, I'd be interested to see Goldschmidt's numbers this year, knowing that there's someone behind him to take the pain off a little bit from having to carry the entire offense. And so number 3, I think, and we may have all these in order here. Number 3 I have is Pete Alonso. I talked about it. One of the best raw power hitters in the game. 69 home runs in 2019 and 2020, which is 17 more than the next closest. 155 RBIs. Again, another guy who strikes out a lot. 26.2 K percentage. Slugging percentage is obviously high because of all the home runs. Do we know anything about him defensively? I don't think I've seen a ton of Mets games, so I don't know how good he is defensively, but
He's not super quick. He's agile, but he's not like, and he's not bad. He's just not great.
Yeah,
I don't think he'll win too many Gold Gloves. He might get 1 or 2,
or any,
but
yeah.
yeah, he's not. But you know what he's going to do? He's going to hit the ball hard and he's going to hit home
Oh yeah,
runs. Yeah,
that's
he's
his
going.
job on
Yeah,
this
that's
team.
him. Yeah, that's
So
him.
yeah, and as I said, I'd be interested to see if he can turn it back around a little bit because he kind of fell flat this past year. So if he can come back strong, I think you could see him on the top of this list for many years to come.
Agreed.
Number two, and we talked about them both. They're both the MVPs this year. So they're 1-2. I have two is Jose Abreu and one is Freddie Freeman.
Can't go
Uh,
wrong.
I mean, for those that are listening, you don't see all the color that is in the columns of Jose Abreu and Freddie Freeman, but trust me, they are in the top. I actually changed it to top three in the category. They are in the top three in pretty much every category. We'll start with Jose Abreu, tied for the most games, most plate appearances, second in terms of doubles at 53, first in terms of hits at 256, which is a huge number. Those two
Yep.
are way above everybody else.
Yep.
Yuli Gurriel is down there at 217, number three. 52 home runs, over the past 2 years, 183 RBIs, which is first, a 293 average. So, for those wondering, is he just another home run and strikeout hitter or first baseman? No, you can also see that by the doubles. He is a great average hitter, 293, which is second behind one Freddie Freeman. Jose Abreu is he may eventually here he is 34 maybe in the next few years he transitions to a DH role, if not this year I'm not too sure, but um for now Jose Abreu is still one of the best hitters in the game and in general, not just first baseman.
Right.
um and then Freddie Freeman is definitely my number one. Um, Amazing bat speed Freddie Freeman has, and I mean he doesn't look like someone who's gonna knock the ball out of the park every time, but he doesn't have to. He's got the
He,
57 doubles. He's most or second most plate appearances, 51 home runs, 249 hits, uh, most runs by far of all the first basemen, 64,
do you know what he does?
174 RBIs. Go ahead, Joe.
Do you know what he does the best? And I watch a lot of him because of the NL East. He goes to left center field better than anybody I've
Oh
ever
yeah,
seen. He is such a good hitter to the opposite field. He also loves to go down the lines. He's a very good line hitter. And I know Reese Hoskins has said this before. Freddie Freeman is the guy in the Braves order that you try to get out. Now Acuna, they have all these guys, but if you don't get Freddie Freeman out, it's gonna be a long night. It's gonna be a really long night, and
yeah,
he's gonna have a great year again.
and especially for all those power, and a lot of them happen to be first basemen,
Right.
who are strictly pull hitters, and you see like I know even when for Matt Olson, for example, they put like four play
Mm-hmm.
infielders on the same side of the infield because he's not going to
Ryan
hit the ball the
Howard.
other way.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And
Yeah. That's
so
crazy.
someone like Freddie Freeman, 307 average is
It's
great.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
So look for him to be a top of the league in most of these categories again in terms of first baseman, and even for average home runs, RBIs, triple crown candidate, maybe you
Oh
never
my
know.
God.
Marcell Ozuna is back, backing him up.
Got
So
projection. Yep. Yep. Definitely.
so real quick, Joe, do you want to run through your list and then we'll look at a couple of these other guys?
Yep. Number 8, I have Anthony Rizzo of the Chicago Cubs. Number 7, I have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays. Number 6, I have Eric Hosmer of the San Diego Padres. Number 5, I have Paul Goldschmidt of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Number 4, I have Pete Alonso of the New York Mets. Number 3, I have Jose Abreu of the Chicago White Sox. Number 2, I have Luke Voigt of the New York Yankees. And number 1, as they affectionately call him, from the Atlanta Braves, the reigning MVP, freaking Freddie Freeman.
And I just slightly different. I have number first honorable mention is Max Muncy. No, second honorable mention is Matt Olson for the Oakland A's. Muncy for the Dodgers, obviously. Number 5 is Anthony Rizzo for the Chicago Cubs. 4 is Paul Goldschmidt for the St. Louis Cardinals. Number 3 is Pete Alonso for the New York Mets. Number 2, Jose Abreu for the Chicago White Sox. And number 1, freaking Freddie Freeman for the Atlanta Braves. First, with these other names here, so you can kind of all even make it a little more known here, Joe. You can see that the entire bottom of that list only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots that are highlighted. Not very many. Yuli Gurriel actually has 3 of them. Might as well start with someone like Rhys Hoskins. What does someone like Rhys Hoskins need to do, Joe, do you think, to get up into our top tier list and join those guys?
Rhys Hoskins came up from Reading in like a storm. He hit all these home runs, but Rhys Hoskins isn't really a home run hitter. He's a hitter that needs to use the whole field. And if he doesn't use the whole field, he's not successful. And when 2 years ago, he hit 220, I think it was. That's not good when you're behind Bryce Harper, when you're in front of Bryce Harper, because a lot of rumors are that he's going to be right in front of Harper because they want the young stud Alec Bohm to hit 5 or 6 now. So, yeah, Rhys Hoskins hasn't shown me that he can hit in the middle of the order. And
that
I get yeah.
That I was going to say that 230 number for average kind of scares me. I don't know.
Yeah, and it scares me on an every night basis because he's a guy that is going to demand a lot of money in the next couple of years. And I'm sorry, his numbers don't say to me that he deserves it. I'm just not. I love the player. I love him as a person because I've gotten to know who he is. But I'm sorry if he goes, I'm not going to be too sorry. He needs to get consistent. Consistent is not Rhys Hoskins. He needs to get more consistent.
Someone who I really wanted to put on the list, but I couldn't quite was, and maybe more because he may be more of an outfielder than a first baseman, but he showed up on the list. Trey Mancini for Baltimore. Now I believe, did he have cancer or something?
He did.
Like
yeah,
that?
he battled cancer. Yeah, that was a good story.
So, and he's coming back now this year. He had to miss all of last season, and he's coming back. I would love to see him come back in the middle of that Baltimore lineup.
Yeah.
But a great average hitter. You see the 291 average, or 291 average. So
he's
over the
a
past
trade
2
guy.
seasons,
He's a trade asset, maybe, possibly. We'll talk about
maybe,
that
maybe.
on our next show.
If you think about it, I guess obviously Baltimore is going to be at the bottom of the division,
right?
But
that's what's saying.
And they want the young guys. They're going to build around the young guys. But I mean, Trey Mancini isn't someone who's really old. He's 28 years old.
He's young.
I would think he could probably fit into that, resurgence in Baltimore. So yeah, I'd be interested to see if he's someone who gets traded off. One other name I'll throw out there, Joe, is one Josh Bell. Obviously, he's changing teams this year, going to Washington. He kind of didn't have a great late year last year, but before that, he was probably an MVP type candidate. Don't we think that he could be someone who could take that next step and join that top tier this year?
I think a lot of Josh Bell he's probably going to hit either in front of or behind Soto. I think the key is going to be how patient is he going to be? He strikes out a lot. I just wonder to see how patient he's going to be, and he's going to get his home runs, but we said it, he's not going to hit over 30, 35. I don't know. I don't know if I give him that much. Actually, I'll say this. If Hoskins can hit better than I think, and he hit more consistent, I think he could be better off than Bell, and that's again, so we'll just see. But Bell's hit or miss. I think that's the perfect way to describe him. He's really streaky, Derek.
Yeah. And I'll just mention someone like Joey Votto obviously has been great for so long, but he's no longer in the top tier of first baseman. So he was for a very long time. Um, and I will say someone look for someone sneaky like Christian Walker, who is one of
Mhm.
the I mean, Arizona doesn't have a great lineup out there anymore, but Christian Walker is someone hits for a decent average, and he had a nice streak of I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before that
Yeah.
of home runs, but he's out there, he's playing 209 games, a lot of plate appearances. So Christian Walker could be someone who could make a significant jump this year, but
Doesn't walk a
um
lot. Wow,
no,
strikes out a
no.
ton too. Jeez. Interesting.
But well, that'll do it for our first baseman show. Top 5 first basemen currently in Major League Baseball. For those that are keeping tabs, we have done well. We did the shortstops when we talked about the Francisco Lindor trade. So we've gone through shortstops, starting pitchers, catchers, and now first basemen. So if you missed any of the top 5 lists of players currently at those positions, feel free to jump back and check those out, as well as our MLB preview videos. We have just finished our second one in the beginning of the week, the NL Central, as well as the NL East, we did as well. So, Joe, any last thoughts before we get going?
Just that the first basemen were very interesting to look at because you have the top tier, but then you have guys that are definitely right up below that.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite interesting. It was a little more harder to figure out than the catchers. Catchers is kind of a couple guys and everybody else, but this was a little more hard to differentiate. Um, I will say that I am absolutely except for the NL East, I would say I'm really looking forward to next week's show for everybody to understand that the AL East is going to be a heck of a division to discuss, and we're
Yeah.
happy that Phil E can come on and discuss it with us. And yeah, so until then, Derek, I guess we sign off for the night.
Yeah. So, for once again, everyone, please follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe on YouTube to get all of our videos. You can follow us on all podcast platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, everywhere on all podcast platforms, as well as our Twitter and our Facebook pages. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, because I've kind of noticed that the Facebook page is a little spotty because sometimes you don't get all of our videos. So once in a while, just go out there to see if we put up a new video. We do try to put one up in the beginning of the week and the end of the week, not necessarily a specific day, but um, beginning of the week, end of the week, we try to put one up. So next week will be the NL East preview, as Joe mentioned. So look out for that in the beginning of next week. But until then, thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Stay safe and take care.